Well, as a former receiver yourself, I'm interested for your take on Jonathan Adams, who was a beast on Saturday with 3 touchdown catches against K-State. Like, was Arkansas State doing anything fancy there, or was that just simply a matter of him continually beating K-State defensive backs one-on-one?
Yeah, that's all that was. I mean, he big, tall guy with great ball skills and the ability to high point the football. And ultimately, if you're gonna continue to put 5'10", 6-foot corners, I don't think A.J. Parker probably actually measures in at 6 foot. But if you're going to put, undersized guys up against him in one-on-one coverage, that's just what you're going to get. And the quarterbacks, Bonner and Hatcher were doing a good job of just putting the ball where he could go up and get it. And for K-State, Adams is a guy with some incredible ball skills, a guy who we're going to see play on someday soon. And so ultimately, that was just he was a better player than the guys that he was going up against for K-State, and that ultimately won the day.
I had this question asked to me a lot, and when we start getting into this area of like, hey, what could the coaches have done here? I realize that I am completely in over my head. So I'll just ask it to you. Like, schematically, was there anything that they could have done differently to provide some extra help there in your eyes?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think anytime you have a guy like Adams or any dominant receiver, it makes the most sense to roll the coverage. Insert some sort of a cover 2 scheme where you're rolling the coverage against that particular receiver and putting a safety directly over the top. And so essentially, more effectively, you're double teaming that guy without it being a true double team. Because with an outside receiver with his size and his skill set, I'm not sure that a true double team would work. I know we had a lot of fans and people on Twitter clamoring for that, but that's not really a practical. That's not really a practical decision that can be made. So again, I think with a guy like him, who's obviously he's an outside receiver, you roll that corner up, you try to get a little bit of a jam on him. And then, to the extent that he's able to get a good release on the corner, then you have a safety over the top with the corner still playing underneath. So it could be a straight cover 2 coverage. It could be more of a 2-man coverage. But either way, you're not allowing him to go one-on-one, whether it's in man-to-man or cover 3 against a smaller guy.
Curry Sexton talking with us. We've seen trick plays be a problem since Chris Kleiman really took over. There were 5 or 6 different games last year where teams hit K-State with that. Last we saw them before the Arkansas State game, Navy obviously had a huge one that won the game for them, and it popped up again. Not just a fake punt, but there were 2 on offense. Defensively, how do you balance trying to be more aggressive, which clearly these guys are? They want to be more aggressive than what Tom Hayes was, for instance, defensively, but balance that with not getting burned so often by those.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, you're right. It puts you in a tough position. How do you prepare for those without sacrificing short yardage plays? But I think that the frustrating thing about in particular the double pass and the fake punt was with the double pass. I think any sort of awareness, from anybody with their eyes in the backfield could have seen that ball was thrown about 5 yards backward. And so, I know that's hard for maybe the back end guys to see, but with a little bit of communication, I feel like that's something where that's something that could have been stopped. And then the fake punt, I think anybody knew that in that down and distance from that position on the field, that a fake punt was very, very likely. And so I think that that was extremely frustrating. I think that was the most frustrating play that happened in that game. Just because everybody that I was watching with, we all said, here comes a fake punt. I think the fact that we were in a more of a traditional punt return type formation there, I guess, the fact that we weren't playing a true safe zone punt defense was frustrating because when they're inside the 50 like they were and they throw a deep ball like they did, there's no way that, whether you have a punt returner who's back or a deep safety, there's no way that ball shouldn't have been ultimately knocked down by someone who was playing as a punt returner or a deep safety. So that to me was the most frustrating because I think everybody could see that fake punt coming.
Curry Sexton talking with us. What was the best fake or trick play, I should say, that you guys had throughout your career that perhaps didn't get used? Because I was trying to rack my brain. I don't remember that you guys used a whole lot of trick plays when you were playing.
No, we practiced the heck out of them, but we never used them. There was one that we were in it was a trips, so we had a trips receiver set, a bunch set, and you know, I was at the point of the bunch, and then Lockett and whoever our third receiver was were back behind me, and we threw a bubble screen to Lockett that was a backwards pass, and then I would have kind of, you know, gone out and acted like I was going to stock block, and then released down the sideline, and we practiced that, you know, a couple times a day, and always were on Coach Himmel to get that in the game script, but it never made it. I don't know if that was because of Lockett's his throwing arm or my speed, but that was probably my favorite.
I like that one. I wish that would have seen the light of day. How do you grade Skylar's performance? I think, listen, you're a smart guy and you are on social media. I'm sure you see all the comments about Skylar's play and how much of a lightning rod he can be. How do you fairly evaluate what he did?
You know, I thought he played pretty well. You know, I thought by and large he made pretty good decisions. Obviously, he missed a couple throws. You know, the deep ball over the middle going to the north end zone to Phillip Brooks, that's the one that I'm sure he'd love to have back. But I think, you know, some of his misses, you know, the throws that people are characterizing as Skylar misses, were just as much on the receivers as Skylar. I mean, I can think of 3 instances where Sebastian Taylor and Malik Knowles, you know, were pretty open, and Skylar threw a pretty good ball, but those two guys failed to track the ball in the air. The ball ended up falling over their outside shoulder, and they were unable to bring it in. There was one instance where, and I know Sebastian's a guy with limited game experience, but there's one instance where the ball was put over his outside shoulder, and he fit, you know, his was, you know, his adjustment was to the point where the ball, he didn't even come close to getting his hands on it because he was failing to track it well. So I think ultimately, you know, are they perfect throws? No, but if you're a Division I Power 5 starting receiver, those are plays that you have to make 9 times out of 10. And so for me, I think I was more frustrated with the receiver's ability to track down the deep ball than I was with Skylar putting it in perfect position. Could he have played better? Absolutely. But I thought Skylar played good enough for us to win on Saturday.
I like that, and I think some of that is fair, and that's where I think it's great to have your perspective on that, because that's something that, to us, the observer who did not play college football, we can't always tell. I mean, in general, did you feel better? I did feel better, I guess I can say that, about the pass-catching options and how explosive they looked when you take into account Sebastian Taylor running open the entire game and Youngblood not even playing. You have Malik Knowles. Briley Moore looked very good. Like, how much better do the pass-catching options look this year?
Yeah, I think they're night and day. I think, you know, Malik looked pretty healthy. Sebastian looks like he's taken a step forward. Both welcome sights. Briley Moore was awesome. I mean, I don't think we've probably had a true I think I said this last week, but he appears to be the first true pass-catching tight end we've had since probably Jaron Mastrud. So really excited by what he brought to the table. And then I think, you know, we saw a little bit again of Sammy Wheeler. You know, Jack Stanine caught that pass down the middle of the field. You know, and then again, we're without Josh Youngblood, without Wykeem Gill. Phillip Brooks made a nice play on the first touchdown. So yeah, I think we have a lot of depth there. But ultimately, we got to find some guys who you can really trust to go up and make tough plays. You know, like some of the ones that were missed on Saturday, because if a couple of those are made, that the outcome of that game is likely a different one.